Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Anxious Lad podcast. Joining me all the way from the Gold Coast in Australia is Kyal Currant. Kyle, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, thanks, brother. How are you?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. That's a very loud shirt you have on for the camera
Yeah, I like
today.
I like to express myself the best way that I can and bring people joy in any way that I can.
Absolutely. I tell you, just even by the clothes both of us are wearing, it just goes to show the weather we're both sitting in. So it's like 7 o'clock in the morning here. It's freezing. I've got my hat on. It's what is it, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening for you?
It's about 5 o'clock here, 5 o'clock
Five
p.m.
o'clock, okay.
5 p.m.
And nice and warm with a shirt like that on, I guess, as well.
It's coming into the colder months now, so it's a bit colder than it usually is, and than it was a couple of weeks ago. But it's still warm.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, listen. First of all, thanks a million for taking the time out to come on the show and have a chat with me. I really, really appreciate it. I think like all the guests, and I kind of say this at the start of every show. You and I have had a lot of of conversations, kind of building up to this. This is take two of the podcast because take one didn't go overly well.
No.
Um, the internet connection between Australia and Ireland wasn't stable enough.
No.
Genuinely, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I'm looking forward to this chat, and for
Thank
you
you.
to share your story with the listeners. So I think we'll kind of jump on into it, right, in terms of your story and where and how, I guess, not where, but how your kind of mental health started to deteriorate later on in years. And I guess one of the biggest misconceptions we see about mental health, right, is that it has to be from some sort of trauma. It might be that a parent or a loved one or a spouse died or something like that, or it's childhood trauma that's coming back to bite you years later, whatever. But in your case, it was actually a physical illness and disease almost. Do you want to give the guys a bit of a background into that aspect first of all before we go any further?
Yeah, of course. And I want to say thank you again for having me on the podcast. I do appreciate it. I know it's been a few months, long time coming, back and forth, but I appreciate it all again. So for me, like, where do I start? So basically, I didn't start walking until I was 2. My mum, I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, and my mum basically thought there was something because I didn't start walking till I was 2, and she, being a mother, she was concerned, so she took me to the doctors and the hospital, and I later found out that it's the condition I've got. Like, we found out later, it's a muscle and nerve disorder. So for those that are watching this, it's called Charcot-Marie-Tooth. So it's spelled Charcot hyphen Murray, Marie hyphen tooth, and it's named after the three people that founded it, and it's a hereditary nerve disease, muscle disease. And what it does is, as far as I'm aware, it affects, I believe, 1 in 6 people worldwide, and it's a weakness of the muscle. It's a mixture of different diseases. So um, there's different specific types on it, but there's still research done because they can't really diagnose specific type. So
Right.
for me, I'm one of those people. So I'm now almost 30. So for the last 20, 25 plus years, I've always had research done, and everything that they do comes back normal. Like, that comes from muscle biopsies, that comes from just nerve conduction tests, like just strength tests and stuff like that. And all the specialists do all the tests and comes back normal. Now the disease is actually hereditary. So my old man, my father's got it, but he's never really seen doctors and stuff. He sort of just lived his life the best way that he can.
Right.
And it affects different parts of the body. Like, he's got it from the waist down, whereas I've got it from the neck down. So I've got scoliosis in my spine. It's funny, there's a term, my father, people that make fun of it. I guess you could say a bit of a joker, but they call it wine glass legs because it's like literally we got this got this thing. We've got these skinny legs, so it affects like the way we walk, strength of muscles. Like it's weakness of the muscles,
Right.
basically. And it's for someone that's my age. I didn't really have the strength of a normal person that was my age. So being in school, like growing up in school, I got primary school. I got picked on a lot because of the way I walked. I couldn't really run or do things because of how weak the muscles were in the body. I couldn't. I mean, look, I couldn't. Yeah, I mean that was the main thing. It was more physical than anything, but obviously the mental and emotional stuff stemmed from that. Being bullied, being called names, being called this and that on the sun. I couldn't do things, and that stemmed all the way through my school years, up into high school as well, where I'd get picked. It was more so verbal than anything, but there was a couple of times in primary school where I used to get just pushed and shoved. I had a best friend in school. His name was Kyle as well, and he used to sort of run away just to sort of see what my reaction was, and then I couldn't find him. I feel like I was all alone and stuff like that because I was always getting segregated with my friends, and they'd pick on me because of that. Got dropped on my head in school, like picked up and dropped on my head as a youngster, just because I love wrestling. I love wrestling, and one of the kids, which I realize now, he's actually a wrestler himself now, but he loved wrestling as well, and so he decided to pick me up and suplex me, drop me on my head in school. That was when I was, I think, I don't know how old I was. Would have been grade 4 or 5. But yeah, I didn't really do. I did sports, but it wasn't a. I got involved in it, but I couldn't do certain things other people would. I try and get myself involved, and the teachers will be aware of it as well. And then when I finished primary school, I went into high school, and basically all throughout high school, I was the shortest kid in grade 12. I was one of like the nerds, you would say. I've always an avid learner as well. So that's really what stemmed from that. And people, I get picked on because I had splints on my ankles to help me walking. And the school I was at is pretty big. I think there was about 300 plus grade 12 students who graduated in that year.
Right.
I graduated. And then during that period, I was going through a charity place called Montrose Access, and they'd like help me with supports and stuff like that with my ankles, like ankle bracelets, and help me walk. And it'd be very painful, but they end up funding a granny scooter. So those mobility scooters that you go around, because I was just going from one end of school to the other end, so it was just quite. It'd take me a while to get to that point because I got so tired throughout the day, and the school I believe that. I don't know if this is true or not. I've just got mentioned this, but they built footpaths and stuff like that. And when the kids, this is grade 10, so I was about 15. The kids saw that, and prior to that, I was segregated. But once it hit grade 10, it got to I think it was end of grade 9. I got the scooter, which is about 14. They saw that, and they saw that. Oh, why has this kid got this scooter in the school? So they'd look at me like I was like. Or why has he got this and this? And I was still segregated, and I was picked last, and I wouldn't do certain things. So I was just put in that. I guess you could say put to the side.
But did you find that with getting the scooter, with the school kind of make it, I guess, more accessible for you to get around and easier for you to get out? Did you find that the spotlight was on you then even more?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I believe that. Yeah, the spotlight's definitely on me more, and I get kids like just saying stuff to me that I didn't even really need to say, like that basically just it wasn't called for at the end of the day. Like I was always had good mates and stuff like that, but it's just I would socialize, but I would be like the joker in school. But looking back now, like those things actually make a detriment effect to you later on in life.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mental health side of I've sort of always been someone that's been a happy-go-lucky guy. But coming into doing the sort of mental health work, it's sort of really deep related trauma. And that's just not realizing it, but it's affected me later on in life in my adulthood.
Yeah, yeah. So, and what was it like then? Because I guess, look, we've talked about it. I kind of know the story. So let's give the guys a bit of an insight into it as well. So you kind of leave high school, you're into your late teens, early 20s, and the lads are going out, your mates are going out to the bar and stuff, and to the pub for pints and drinks and stuff. How was that time of your life for you?
Yeah, so when I left school, as I've always been an avid learner and love learning new
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I went from school to TAFE to university. So I was studying, as you would when you're between the ages of 18 to 21. Most men do it, which is you got to enjoy your life while you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd drink every weekend, hanging out with the boys and just partying and stuff. And that would just allow me to feel like I was socially accepted. But it got to the point where I've now, probably a few years ago, I realized that I was actually doing it to numb the physical pain I was feeling, because I was always in pain with the condition that I've got. And that played havoc every weekend. Like I'd get to the point where I'd get intoxicated just because everyone else was.
Yeah, yeah.
As much as I didn't like, I mean, I enjoyed a drink because I was 18 or 21. It was the sort of norm you do, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but as you get older, you get wiser at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. And looking back as well, it's like it's actually played detriment to my health now, because now
Yeah,
I'm trying to fix my health. I'm trying to improve my health, and to the point where I've stopped drinking. But I just felt like I felt included. So I felt included in partaking in something that I could actually partake in, instead of being pushed
being
to the
pushed to the
side.
side. And
Yeah.
would you have found maybe that there was an element of nearly overcompensating, maybe for years of being pushed to the side in high school and stuff, and all of a sudden this is what all the lads are doing. They're sitting around the bar, they're sitting at the table, everyone's just getting smashed. Did you find you were kind of going harder with the alcohol to catch up, to overcompensate, to just be part of the crowd almost?
When I was young, like I did, and then I got to the point where I was in, I think, probably early 20s, where I was sort of slowed down a little bit because it was sort of
Mm-hmm.
taking a toll on my body.
Yeah, yeah, for
But yeah,
sure.
I would for sure say I was overcompensating because of the fact that I mean, I get included. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, that include my mates. Like, I love them to bits. Like, they're the boys. I've still one of my best mates. Still like friends with them from high school.
Mm-hmm.
But I love them for who they are now. But I got to the point where I'd definitely be overcompensating, and I didn't really want to. Deep down, I didn't really want to drink. Like, I didn't feel the need to drink. But because of I was surrounded by that environment, I just felt like I had to drink.
Yeah, yeah. But there is a release, I think, in it, isn't there? And
Yeah,
this is one
yeah.
thing, yeah. And I've said this a few times in different posts I've done, and different interviews I've done as well. And that with with men, I guess, anyway, especially we all tend to kind of suffer the same. Now our journeys in how we get to that point is different. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, it was severe anxiety with depressive episodes and stuff, and then when I went on the meds, and my head was just a mess for about a year. I couldn't wait till Friday night, because then I could have drank every night of the week. Do you know what I mean? But it was like, no, Friday night I'd sit down and myself and the wife would catch up with a glass of wine or whatever, and that would be our normal sort of Friday evening. But I found I'd have the bottle gone in seconds, just gone. And I think that's something I found really interesting, was that as men, that we all tend to kind of do that. We, like I said, we have a different journey up to that point, but when it gets to a bad, when it starts to get bad, or whatever, mental health starts to get bad, we all tend to suffer the same, or to try and cope the same, I guess, is the easiest way of putting it. So we start drinking a lot more. Some lads start going on to the drugs at the weekend, or, just trying to find something to release. Not only the I guess, for me anyway, it wasn't a physical pain, obviously, but it was more the mental pain and anguish that I was trying to drown out. But then you kind of fall into that vicious circle, and the older you get, the hangovers become more prevalent, and they take longer to get over. And it may take 3 days or whatever to get over it. You're back into Monday, Tuesday. And then before you know it, it's Friday, and you're back on the drink again for the weekend. So I think that's one thing we need to raise a bit of awareness about, is how quickly that slippery slope comes about,
Yeah, it's definitely like don't get me wrong, like we all get a choice to drink or not, and realizing that choice, you get to choose that. I mean, it's definitely a release.
Yeah.
I'm not. Well, we are not saying that it's good or bad to drink. You make the choice whether you want to drink or not. It's definitely a release for men to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't to the point where I was. Some people, I know some people that drink a case. I didn't enjoy it. Like, I wouldn't get to the point where I was drinking a bottle a night. I mean, I'd obviously know that where my limits were, but I used to get, just so I guess you could say, just because everyone else was, I feel like I need to get on the same level as them.
Yeah.
And then when I got older, I just sort of got wiser as well. So it's definitely a massive. It helps with releasing it, but that's all we've been taught, right? Like as a society, and we've been conditioned to believe like all this other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So how's things out? So I didn't really do it in the intro. I wanted to kind of get into the conversation, I guess, earlier this time, but now you're a motivational speaker, you're a coach, you're that kind of stuff. So how did that transition happen, I guess? How did you sort of flip out of that mindset where you were into now doing something so positive, I guess?
Yeah, well, I've mentioned this on a previous interview that I've done. I think it comes down to the people you surround yourself with. So I think it was 2013. Now, for the people watching and listening, I graduated high school at 2010. So it was about 2013, which is when I when I was 21, 22. I got my first job, and then I met a good friend of mine, Brendan, and may he rest in peace. He sort of was someone that, I mean, I was always into like some sort of training and exercise, but he's someone that got me in a position where like we'd drink, we'd have fun, we'd do this and that, but he got me into like health and fitness and stuff like that. So, and I've always known, like, since I started, since he's helped me, when he helped me do that, the coaching, the motivational speaking, it was something inside of me, but I didn't realize it until until he left this world a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Which sort of shifted my reality, like to the point where like I love life, like I love hanging out with him, and he's someone that helped me get out of a rough patch and just he looked out for the best in me when I didn't see it in myself. Whether that was going to the gym, whether it was eating, he even wrote up a diet plan for me, a PT plan, exercise plan. He was a PT at the time, just through our love for certain things. Like we both love MMA and like sort of sports and like martial arts and stuff like that. So we just sort of connected from that point. And then the coaching and motivational speaking just come from what I've been through my whole life. I knew that's what I wanted. Even a few years ago, I said to myself, if I can inspire one person, if I can inspire just one person to make a change, to shift their thoughts in a different way, man, that's what I'm here for. Like I'm here to help people like that. And I've always known that with my condition I've had. I've just done what I can with what I've got. I haven't really looked like I have a disability, because at the end of the day, the disability is what you place on yourself.
Yeah.
And I've just done things the best that I can, what I've had. I've never looked at my life like I have a condition in the first place. I have
Uh,
limit. I have certain physical attributes that many people might look at like funny or weird, but I mean, I'm proud of that.
yeah.
I'm all for that, and I may speak a certain way, but I mean, I laugh at myself. So,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
where I fell into that coaching, mentoring, motivational speaking as well.
Awesome. And it's great that, you've done it a couple of times. You've just said it there, but I noticed you doing it a few times, talk about the wine glass legs and stuff. You do kind of take the mick out of yourself a little bit.
No one else
Which is,
will.
but no, it's great to see. And I guess you can kind of see, from the outside looking in and talking to you and stuff, you can kind of see that the mindset has flipped. Since you were younger, obviously. Do you know what I mean? You probably, I guess, you're always hating it and kicking yourself and giving out about yourself because you couldn't do A, B, and C, or you weren't able to go and say that's going to bring you down a lot. But now, looking at you and what you do, it's like, look, this is who I am, and it is what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost.
I still kick myself, like, as we all do. Like, we're obviously, I've like to consider myself my own harsh critic. I still kick myself in
Yeah,
certain
yeah,
things
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
doing, but it's like I've got a picture like my life. It's like I'm very grateful for what I've got in my life, for
yeah.
what I can do, because there's some people that can't even walk. So I'm very thankful for that.
And that's amazing. That's amazing. So we've spoken, and I guess I've talked about it a lot on different shows, on different episodes, and different posts that I've done, videos and stuff that I've done, or whatever else. But I really wanted to get into this with you a little bit. When we look at, I guess, some of the therapies, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like to use the word therapy a lot, because I think a lot of lads, if you kind of say therapy to them, it's like, I don't need a therapist. There's nothing wrong with me. Do you know what I mean? There is, again, there's kind of a stigma associated, obviously, to men and mental health, but
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a bigger stigma associated to the therapies that are out there. Do you know what I mean? And you've got your traditional, counselors and psychotherapists and stuff. And for me, that's what I needed at breaking point for me. But was to go to a psychotherapist. And once I kind of came off the meds and I was able to get my head straight a bit more, then I could start looking into, I guess, the newer forms of therapy, for lack of a better expression. So mindfulness, breath work, meditation, hypnosis, really looking into NLP and CBT and all of that kind of stuff. So how is it for you, kind of looking at that element of it? Because I know you practice mindfulness and breath work and stuff as well. What is it about that, I guess, taking that kind of stuff into your life on a daily basis? How does that help?
Yeah, so that's all. That's a great question. So I found breath work and mindfulness only, well, 2 years ago, after when I
Right.
lost my best mate Brendan, and that sort of shifted my reality. Like, he lived his dream, so I was like, okay, and for me, it's more so like I need to change my life in order so I can move forward in my life. So that's when I found breath work through a guy called Dr. Espen, who teaches it. He teaches like quantum physics and stuff like that. I just come across an ad, and I was like, what can I do to shift my life? And then the breath work and the mindfulness stuff, it's sort of something I fell into. I think it found me, really.
Right.
So the breath work, it's allowed me to be able to control my emotions, but also express my emotions in a much healthier way by simply
Mm-hmm.
using the breath. And there's so many different breath work techniques you can do, that can help you with that. And it's allowed me to be able to express who I am truly, just by working on certain areas, and like for example, like meditation. Like, meditation was something I never did. as of a
Yeah,
couple of years
yeah.
ago. I never knew that what it was. I mean, I heard about it, but I mean, I just didn't know what it was. And then when I sort of heard about breath work in a way,
Mhm.
but I didn't really know what it was. And I like breath. Okay, we have breath, and then it's just given me, like, for example, if I'm in a low energy state of mind, and for the viewers and the listeners, a low energy state of mind is just if I'm not feeling the best, if I'm like sad, if I've had something happen to me that's um just, I guess you could say, triggered something. I don't like using that word happening to me, because it's not the case. Everything happens
Yeah,
for you
yeah,
in
yeah,
life.
yeah.
Whatever you go through, no matter the challenge you're trying to overcome, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, it's happening for you for a reason.
Mhm.
Nothing in life is happening to you.
Love that.
Um, but it's having, like, the breath work. It's allowed me to tap into what I'm feeling inside. And I used to do it on a day-to-day basis, but I realize now that it's just a tool for me to have. I've got a tool now that I can use instead of having to use alcohol as a coping mechanism, or
Mhm.
having to use drugs as a coping mechanism. I now have breath to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the hypnosis part, I fell into, I think, a year and a half ago now. A practitioner of hypnosis is something that I've always been intrigued with mindset, because I think my mindset is very, very strong, um, because of what I've gone through in life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so I just surrounded myself with the right people, with mentors, with coaches, and that's when that fell into place. And then it got thrown at me opportunity to do hypnosis, and it just, let's just say I'm very suggestible. And and for
Right.
people that don't know what hypnosis is just so we live 5% in our conscious mind. 95% of our brain is unconscious thoughts, negative thoughts, patterns, behaviors, and emotions and feelings.
Mhm.
So most of it, like, we we're only living in 5%. So when the hypnosis actually taps into subconscious. So what it does, it shifts certain emotions and memories, and it gives you suggestions to make positive change in your life, just using the power of words and the
Yeah,
power
yeah.
of suggestibility. So that stuff I fell into, because the guy that I did my practitioner with, I was easily suggestible, and everything he had me like a, you could say, a dummy, like, or what are you, the stage show. And I was like, okay, this is cool. And then I got to the point, I was like, I need to learn this stuff myself. So then I started learning. As I've always been a learner, I've never stopped learning, never will stop learning, and it's just intrigued me now. It's even more the mindset. I'm much more in diverse and different mindsets, and how I can improve my own mindset to shift more of my own reality.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so the
yeah. And
mindfulness stuff, it's something that I've discovered. It's helped me so much. Just release traumas, um, release certain emotions, like release certain emotions that no longer serve me. Just power of different processes, whether that's NLP or breath work, and just let go of things that no longer serve me, just through the power of breath work and the
yeah,
power of words.
yeah. And it's funny, like, because kind of like you, it was a couple of years ago. Um, Actually, no, it would have been last year. Actually,
Yeah,
last summer. So there's a there's a guest on the podcast. One of the first interviews I've done, and he's become a really, really good friend of mine now since we started talking and getting him on the podcast. Justin. So he's from Arizona, and I think I nearly probably mention him on every episode now at this stage. He gets a little shout out. But like that, I think it was a random chance meeting almost. It was a post I put up on Facebook. So I'd come out with a therapy, and I was trying to think of what am I doing. I was trying to get the podcast up and running. I had a few ideas floating around, and then I was thinking, okay, well, everyone always talks about the physical health benefits or the mental health benefits to workouts, going to the gym, going for a run, doing all this kind of stuff. And I kind of threw myself into everything at that point. I was trying to find it all. I was looking at mindfulness. I was like reading up and looking into NLP and CBT and meditation and hypnosis. And you can kind of get a little bit overwhelmed by all of it as well, because there is so much. And like you, I would be quite susceptible like that as well. Right. So I think like the traditional therapy, that's what I needed at that point in time when I came out of it. But since now I've got a lot more of an open mind to like that, the breath work, the meditation, all of that kind of stuff. And I put a post up and I was saying, right, can anyone help me? Right. This is what's happened. I'm trying to show what the mental health benefits are to working out. And at this point in time in my life, I don't work out. I get tired running a bath. Do you know what I mean? Right. So, and with that, then Justin kind of replied and said, "Hey, look, I'm a PT. I'm a qualified fitness instructor. Let's have a chat." So we started talking. He designed a program for me. He's like, "Right, this is what you're going to do. These are the days you do it." He took the time to do videos for me, to show me the exercises, all that. And for me, it was very important that it wasn't in a gym. It was at home with as little equipment as possible. Because from an anxious point of view and from an anxiety perspective, I wanted guys to see that this is possible to do in your own sitting room or in your own bedroom or in the house, where you don't have to go to a gym to get this level of fitness into it. Do you know what I mean? So we fast forward a couple of weeks, I had an accident and broke my leg. So I wasn't able to start doing that, and I was in a cast. So I sat with Justin then again, and we were chatting away. We did the episode, and he's like, "How are you doing?" I said, "I'm not great, mate. I'm not. I'm starting to slip. The leg is broken. I'm hobbling around the house. It's horrible. It's the middle of summer." So he got me into the bridge. So he's a kung fu practitioner. He's a kung fu teacher is what he does now. He teaches primary school kids kung fu and stuff, but he's also a qigong practitioner as well. So he got me into the breathing exercises through the qigong element. And up until then, and for 30 odd years prior to that, I was having nightmares. I couldn't sleep at night. I was afraid to go to sleep at night because my anxious brain was just firing on all cylinders when I'd get into bed. So I would watch my phone until I literally passed out. Because I couldn't just, turn the light off and close my eyes and go to sleep, right? And then I would be having nightmares and night terrors ever since I was a kid all the way up. And from taking on that breathwork exercises and getting into bed every night and then just lying back and taking those deep breaths and doing those little exercises, boom, I was out cold, fast asleep. And now I haven't had a nightmare since, which is incredible. And it sounds so simple, and people, and people kind of say, "Oh, so you learn to breathe, like you do that every day." And it's like, nah, there's a big difference in it, and certainly from somebody with anxiety, and I know a lot of people with anxiety would have this as well. So my breath only ever comes to about here. So I'm very shallow breathing as it is anyway. So taking the time, as you said, to just sort of sit back and breathe in and let the stomach come out and properly exercise, recycle the air that's probably sitting stagnant in the lungs for a couple of days, whatever. And it is like when you get into one of those anxious moments and you can kind of remember, okay, just stop, breathe, just take it. Like the benefits to it are just absolutely incredible. They really are.
Yeah, and I think I've got asthma myself. So
Right, okay.
so for someone like me who's got asthma, which I don't even use my asthma puffer, like very rarely I use it now. But for someone like me, it's like, okay, breath. People are like, well, what do you mean like breath? And this is for all the viewers and listeners, like breathing. Most people don't breathe properly. Most people just breathe without. Like if you think about it, like you go on a plane, they tell you to breathe in the bag. The reason they tell you that is to actually know how you're breathing properly, not to vomit in the bag. So having like anxiety or asthma, just simple 3 breaths before you go to bed, like in through the nose and out through the mouth, just deep breaths, just can change your state just like that.
Yeah. And I thought he was mad, like, because he was saying, Justin was saying, look, we're gonna work on the breathing, right? You can't do the physical side of Keegan. I'm like, He goes, I'll teach you how to breathe properly. I'm like, I think I know how to, like, I'm still alive. Do you know what I mean? I've been kind of breathing for 30 odd years, mate, but it's a different spin on it. And then even getting into those anxious moments and those times where I can feel myself getting worked up and stuff. It is really a case of just, okay, just take that breath in and out. It kind of drops the heart rate. It slows you down. It kind of focuses your brain a lot more. And it is like, I think people underestimate the power of the breath work, and even again, like he's helped me through the meditation side of things as well. And I think, just to kind of comment on your hypnosis element of it. So there's a guy on the show, I released the episode a few weeks ago, Sean. So he's from the UK. He's got a company called New Me Therapy. And it is all of that. It's mindfulness, it's hypnosis, it's breath work, all of that kind of stuff. NLP, CBT. And he had said to me, look, I've seen some of your posts. I'd like to get you on and do some hypnosis work with you. And like, I'm kind of looking at him going, here, you're going to have me dancing around a chicken or you know what I mean? Dancing around thinking I'm a chicken or whatever, you're going to try and get into me head and make me think I'm this, that, and the other. And I didn't really understand what that side of hypnosis, like you hear the hypnosis element, you hear people saying, I got hypnotized on stage last week and I thought I was fucking BB King or something, like, you know what I mean? But it was very like that when he got into it and explained it to me, and as you say, you have 5% of your brain is, and the rest of it is the subconscious element of it. And when you get into it and when you started doing it, it was insane. The stuff I was coming out with, like I was bringing up stuff from when I was 5 and 6 that I haven't thought about in 30 odd years. And it's not that you're asleep, or it's not that you're unaware of what's going on. Like, you're fully conscious. You know exactly what's happening. You can snap out of it at any second. Do you know what I mean? But as you say, you're just a little bit more susceptible to going inside your own head and trying to pick out some of those traumas that are maybe causing you to behave in a certain way, or, new experiences that happen now will trigger past experience that were negative to you and will make you react in a certain way. And I guess that's where all the NLP stuff comes into it then as well, because our brains have been programmed and conditioned over so many years to act and react and behave in certain ways to certain situations.
Yeah, exactly. And the hypnosis isn't that thing where they turn into a chicken. It's it's a natural state of just calmness and peace. Like, it's just tapping into the subconscious, and you've got to, in order for it, like, people say I don't want to be hypnotized. It's a scary thing, but that's because mainstream media has made it out to be like the scary thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas it's just a normal state of trance. Like, it's like when you like, for example, if I was to give you the keys to my car and then put you in the driver's seat and then told you where to go and you said no, the car wouldn't move, right? You've got to actually project, like, you've got to take the action to do the work. Like, it's all subconscious things, and that's the reason it comes up trauma, is because your subconscious brain stores all those memories and thoughts, so it's bringing it up, and you may not be aware of it, but then it brings it up. You're like, oh, that's why I react in this situation.
Yeah.
And when you can tap into the unconscious, you can actually start releasing certain things in your life that no longer serve you, just through the power of hypnosis or NLP.
Yeah. And again, like, for me, that was a massive kind of light bulb moment for me after doing that set. And with Sean, it was a couple of hours. I think it was the guts of 2.5 hours we did that session for. And he's actually part of my coaching program now. So as part of the program, I take my clients with to help with their stress and anxiety and stuff. If they want it, there's a session with Sean to go through that hypnosis element as well. So I'll give Sean a little plug out today. So New Me Therapy, give him a shout.
New Me Therapy, okay.
Yeah, so he's good. He's really good. He's just a genuinely nice guy as well. Do you know what I mean? But like that, from the NLP and looking at it, and you kind of remember, like, so something happens to you at a certain point in your life, as a kid, as a child, as a teenager, whatever, and you attach an emotion and a feeling to that situation, and then years later, somebody could say something completely innocuous to you, but boom, it's triggered that emotion and that feeling, and now is making you react. So by doing the hypnosis element of it, it just kind of, I guess, just opens your mind to understanding why you're doing that and why you're behaving in a certain way and why you're reacting in a certain way. It's because 20 years ago, that's how it made you feel. So you're still carrying, as you say, your brain still stores it. So you're still carrying those emotions and memories and feelings to certain situations. And that, I think that's where we need to get with mental health as well. We need to start understanding it a lot more. It's not just about, yes, there are elements, right? And there are certain circumstances, where the death of a parent or a loved one or something like that, right, is going to steer you into depression. Absolutely, right? And that's fact. There are times where, like in your case, it's a physical element that has had an impact on how you grew up and how you're growing up in life and that kind of stuff. And one of the other guys on the show was the same. He had chronic back pain. And in his late teens, early 20s, he should have been out living his best life with his mates from college and uni and stuff, but he couldn't get out of bed some days because of the pain in his back. And that was the spiral he went down into depression. So there are certain situations in life and there's things that's going to happen to you that are going to have an impact on your mental health. But I also think we need to start talking a lot more about, the childhood experiences and even small little things that, may not seem like a big thing now, but they do have an impact on how you behave and how you react in situations as you get older. And I think, certainly for men, we need to start understanding this because, like I always say, we don't talk enough as it is. We don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about our emotions. We don't talk about the stresses that life gets to us, and the anxiety that we feel. So we just bury it until we become this agitated, aggressive ball of energy almost.
I just got goosebumps from you saying that because it's so true. Like for me, like I've always been that person that's not being able to express my voice because I've been shut down because of a disability that people feel like they have to segregate me to put to the side. And it's 100% true. It's what we've been conditioned as men to not express ourselves. Oh, you shouldn't cry, you're a man. But at the end of the day, crying releases an emotion.
Yeah.
Like I literally cried today. I was just not feeling it. So I was like, why am I just bringing up emotion? Let's just cry. And it's a powerful thing because you can release it and you can let go of it. But at the same time, like it's okay to express your emotions. If something's going on, ask for help. Like it's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely.
And in the right way, like you can say to someone, "Oh, how are you doing?" They're going to be like, "Good." But one thing I like to reframe it is, "What's going on?" If you frame it like that and ask someone what's going on, it's a bit more open-ended because they're going to say good. But if you can sense that they're not good, just ask me if they want anyone to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I'm going to let you give a little plug out for yourself now as well. So for the guys on the other side of the world, over in Australia and the Gold Coast, how did they get in touch with you? I guess from a coaching perspective, from for you to kind of start helping them out if they want to get in touch with Kyal for coaching, for speaking, for any of the stuff that you do.
Yeah, like I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So it's Kyal. That's Kyal. My surname Currant, Currant. That's on Facebook. And then on Instagram, it's I am Kyal Currant. It's all one word. Or you can just put in my name, you'll find me, as well as TikTok. I'm also on LinkedIn. I don't use that as much as I should, but I'm always posting on Instagram and Facebook. And if anyone wants to reach out for just general, we can like whatever you're going through. I'm happy to have a chat with you and have a conversation, and we can work through certain processes and keep up to date. Message me if you need to. Again, like we're all here to support each other, whether that's in Ireland, whether that's in Australia, whether that's in any other part of the world. We all need to start coming together as one, and just know that it's okay to express how we feel. Know that it's okay if you're going through something, whether you're going through anxiety, whether you're going through stress, trauma. You can, if you surround yourself with the right people, you can release those areas of your life. And if you follow me, I'm always doing the best that I can with what I've got. And if you want to work with me, the door is open. Just send me a message and start following me and reach out and say, hey, you got my details off the anxious side. Yeah, that's my tags. I'm not on Snapchat though, so probably won't go on Snapchat. Don't add me on Snapchat.
I'm too old for Snapchat. I downloaded it once, mate. And I was like, nah. We leave that for the kids. I'm not able for it. I like that. I mean, look, I'm on TikTok as well. I have Instagram, but Facebook that's the main one for me. Do you know what I mean? There's too many. There's too many apps, I think. Snapchat's definitely not for me.
Instagram. Facebook, Instagram is where I'm at normally, but Facebook is always good, and then TikTok as well.
Yeah, awesome. Listen, Kyle, I really appreciate you coming on the show, buddy. It's been great to talk to you, and thanks for sharing. Thank you for showing vulnerability like you did in the episode today, and I wish you all the very best, mate. Keep doing what you're doing, buddy. Best of luck.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. And again, if you took any value from it, we'd love to get your feedback. Always open to feedback.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, buddy. Take care of yourself.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. See you guys.